2015, Australia and New Zealand co-hosted the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup for the first time in over 2 decades. In an unchanged format from the previous iteration, 2 groups of 7 played a round-robin pool stage, with the top 4 sides from each group going to a knockout stage consisting of quarter-finals, semi-finals and a final to win the World Cup. For New Zealand, it was a home World Cup, and fans and players were feeling optimistic.
I think we had all bases covered, really. When I look at the leaders in the team, you had Mike Hesson as coach, great manager of the support team. Then you had Brendan McCullum who ran the team, but alongside him, Daniel Vittori, who was obviously, one of the most decorated cricketers New Zealand's ever had. You threw in a few of the younger players who had a lot of experience leading up to the World Cup, and I think we had just a fantastic balance of players. But I think the foundation that really did set the tone for the team was selflessness. It was all about the team. It wasn't about your own ego, it wasn't about your own performances, but it was about getting the job done for the team.
New Zealand had got a good side together for that 2015 World Cup. They were co-hosts, of course, with Australia. It was a big moment for New Zealand sport.
Playing it in New Zealand, having the New Zealand public behind us and the fans, there was a real following behind this Black Caps team and a belief that perhaps this was going to be the World Cup for New Zealand.
The South Africans came into the 2015 World Cup tentatively.
Looking back on the 2015 Cricket World Cup, South Africa going into that World Cup were not one of the favourites necessarily, but they also had a couple of standout stars that I think many would have looked to and said, oh, they've got a possibility of winning the World Cup. AB de Villiers certainly went into that World Cup in incredible form.
As with every other great South African side, this squad had a familiar shadow hanging over them.
The choker's tag is something that has followed the men's team around for a long time. There are times when it hasn't been a choke, but people label it as a choke because of the history. It's just followed them around for such a long time.
I mean, it was one catastrophe after another for South Africa. Not always their fault, the famous 1992 semi.
We're now led to believe it's just the 1 ball left to be bowled. And the scoreboard finally confirming what we've thought to be true for some time now. South Africa need 22 runs off this 1 ball. Somehow, I don't think that's possible.
Went from 22 needed off 13 balls against England to 22 off 1 because it started raining. They had some interesting rain rules at the time. They went out on that famous tie against Australia at Edgbaston in 1999.
They go for it. And Donald's run out. And Australia are in the final. The match has been tied. What a mix-up.
2003 on home soil, they misread the Duckworth-Lewis sheets against Sri Lanka.
It's interesting, the umpires are now getting their heads together out in the centre.
In 2003, South Africa needed a win in their final group stage match to qualify. But a miscalculation of the Duckworth-Lewis score to win by South Africa meant another rain-affected encounter ended in elimination.
It almost baffles the mind that it does seem to keep happening to a team that's got so much talent. They've had the players, they've had the form, they've been favourites going into matches, going into big matches, whether it's the knockout games or even coming into the tournament, but it just somehow never seems to come together on the day.
New Zealand started the tournament in electric form, with wins against Sri Lanka and Scotland.
Job done for the New Zealanders.
New Zealand were on fire in that tournament. They'd given England an early lesson at Wellington, a match that Owen Morgan, the then England captain, later admitted sort of made him think very hard about the style of play his team wanted to adopt.
In the air, top edge. How far is this going? I don't think it's going far enough. It's out. England are all out. They're all out for 123. And the misery, as it stands right now for England, continues.
I mean, England were skittled for 100 and next to nothing, and then Brendan McCullum teed off and they knocked off the runs in about 13, 14 overs. It was a total humiliation.
The momentum was amazing during the tournament. Having a home tournament is something that is extra special. To have the public behind you, to be in, your home country, at your home grounds, it felt like, you know, all the fans were always cheering for us. I think there's always been this pensive nature around the Black Caps. It's one of those teams that kind of never really delivered. And there was a pivotal moment in the tournament. It was the pool game against Australia in Eden Park. And Eden Park, always a stage for dramatic games.
And bowled. Southey.
He's gone. Outstanding. This time he should be out. It's out. It's all over. Amazing scenes here, really. Quite staggering. 151 all out.
Australia were bowled out for a small total.
McCullum's gone.
After a promising start, New Zealand lost McCullum and their middle order collapsed.
We got 9 wickets down, and Kane Williamson, absolute ice running through his veins.
Straight down again. That's good for 6. Kane Williamson has won it for New Zealand. Oh my goodness. What a day out at Eden Park.
Just delivered a killer blow. It was a lofted drive over mid-on for 6, and the stadium just erupted. One of the most exciting games I've ever been involved in. And I think that moment was the moment where the New Zealand public just got behind the Black Caps team, and we felt this real movement, this real desire, want, and it almost felt like it was a tournament for us to lose.
They played like a side that couldn't lose. Impressive batting performances powered them to the top of Pool A, unbeaten.
New Zealand were playing the kind of cricket that had transformed their own fortunes really ever since Brendan McCullum had taken over as captain. He wanted them to play this forceful, aggressive nature, much in the way that the England Test team now under McCullum have been playing. So for him, it was a no-brainer. Let's get the country on our side. Let's play aggressive cricket. Let's chase the ball hard to the boundary, attack early on, look to take wickets, and it worked very well for them.
South Africa were not quite as convincing during the group stages. Despite strong wins against Zimbabwe, Associate Nations Ireland,
That's it. That's the end of the match.
and the UAE, and an impressive victory over the West Indies.
Gone. That is the end of that. An outstanding day's cricket for South Africa.
There were stumbles along the way, with losses against India and a rain-delayed defeat to Pakistan. But South Africa went through second in their group, and hopeful they could shake their knockout stage curse. Having both made it through the group stages, both teams cruised to quarter-final success. It seemed South Africa had shaken off their knockout stage nerves. They took just 18 overs to beat Sri Lanka by 9 wickets.
And there is the blow. Quinton de Kock takes South Africa home. Their first win in a knockout game at the World Cup.
A World Cup record 237 not out from Martin Guptill blasted New Zealand to a comfortable 143-run victory over the West Indies.
There it is, straight down the ground. Martin Guptill becomes the first New Zealander to score a one-day international double hundred, the 5th man in world cricket to score a double hundred in one-day internationals. What a day for him.
Maybe this is it. Anderson takes the catch, and New Zealand have beaten the West Indies. It's New Zealand who go into the last 4 of the World Cup.
Well, we'll go to the World Cup semi-final to play South Africa.
A clash of titans was set. New Zealand versus South Africa in a World Cup semi-final. New Zealand faced South Africa in a World Cup semi-final. It wasn't just an exciting clash between the two form sides in the competition. For one player, the semi-final was as personal as it could get.
Obviously born in Johannesburg, spent most of my life 23 years of my life in South Africa. Grew up wanting to be a Protea. And those dreams, I guess, were smashed when I had a contract dispute back in South Africa, and I was in Holland at the time. So I was looking for a place to play, and there were a lot of Kiwis in the league, and they said, come on over, I can sort you out with a club, and made the way over to New Zealand. And I think after the first year, I realized that I had a real love for the country, just the lifestyle, and I could see a future here. So I worked hard towards that future. One of the most difficult things, though, is, I guess, unshackling the past and all the dreams that you had playing for the Proteas or South Africa when you're a young child and aspiring cricketer. And New Zealand became my home, and much to the disappointment, I'm sure, of a lot of South Africans, started supporting the All Blacks, and I wanted to be a New Zealander. I wanted to become a Kiwi. So surrounding myself with Kiwi people and the culture to really integrate myself into the culture and have a love for it, which now, being here 21 years, I guess I'm not quite halfway there, but almost full-blown Kiwi.
Yeah, Grant Elliott was picked for that World Cup squad more or less at the last minute instead of Jimmy Neesham, the all-rounder who's since done great things for New Zealand. Elliott hadn't played a one-day international since the end of 2013, so he'd been out of that side for a while, and people were wondering whether it was the right choice. South African born as well, of course, as some of the New Zealand cricketers are. I mean, English cricketers are as well. But Elliott was one of those, a guy who decided to throw in his lot with New Zealand cricket, and here he was coming up against the country of his birth in the semi-final. It was almost a script that you wouldn't have been able to write in advance, and it was certainly one that South Africa didn't want to have to face up to.
The hosts had a powerful batting lineup, led from the front by talismanic captain Brendan McCullum, who paired with the informed Martin Guptill at the top of the Black Caps order. With the talented Kane Williamson at 3, the experienced Ross Taylor at 4, and Grant Elliott at 5, there was plenty of quality to make big scores. A middle order of all-rounders ensured batting bulk with Corey Anderson and Daniel Vettori handy at the crease. The underappreciated tale of Matt Henry, Trent Boult and Timmy Southey completed a well-rounded Kiwi 11. On paper, the visitors were a frightening prospect for any side. One of the most potent bowling attacks in world cricket of Dale Steyn, Morne Morkel and Imran Tahir. JP Duminy and Vernon Philander provided depth with both ball and bat, but the serious batting power came from 1 to 6, led out by Hashim Amla and Quinton de Kock, and supported by some of the great South Africans of their generation. Faf du Plessis, Riley Rossouw, David Miller, and of course, the Imperious captain A.B. de Villiers.
Oh, the atmosphere in Eden Park, absolutely electric.
South Africa, they won the toss, chose to have a bat first. At a small stadium that generally is better for chasing. They also knew that the weather was a possibility, and there was a possibility of rain coming in.
3, 2, Yemen. Game 1.
It didn't take long for the Eden Park atmosphere and the New Zealand's new ball attack to put South Africa under pressure.
A little bit of shape. That'll encourage Tim Southey.
Just lost a bit of balance there, Hashim Amla. He wasn't controlled in that shot by any stretch of the imagination. He's just marking his guard again. Good start. A maiden for Tim Southey, right on the money. South Africa yet to register.
The combination of Boult and Southey were outstanding. I mean, you know, you've the left arm swing that's just complementing Southey with the right arm away swing.
Terrific line and length again from Boult, and de Kock has a little luck. Edge and down. Ronke puts it down. Second boundary, streaky boundary in the over, and New Zealand have let the first one go by.
Wow, that was a good delivery. It got the edge.
They were just so dynamic. You had Southey, who got 7 wickets against England, and you had Trent Boult, who got 6 against Australia in the pool game. So once again, 2 players that were just in, amazing form.
He's dragged it on, and Amla has fallen to Trent Boult, and New Zealand have their first of the semi-final.
Well bowled, Trent Boult. The patience continued. He's bowled beautifully so far in his first over. Should have had a wicket into his second over. He's got the dangerous Amla out. He gives that calmness to South Africa. Well bowled, Trent Boult. You're on fire. Amla's gone for South Africa. It's a big one for New Zealand. He's gone for 10 and it's 21 for 1.
Trent Boult and Tim Southey were one of the most underrated new ball pairings in history, really, red ball or white ball, and they were having a whale of a time in their own conditions in that World Cup. They were a team you could base a World Cup challenge on.
Now de Kock, he's going to find third man, and he's gone. Tim Southey didn't have to move, and de Kock pays the price.
Well, the first sign of real aggression we've seen from Quinton de Kock, advancing down the wicket. You can see how disappointed he is. Swung hard at it, and you're right, Alan Wilkins. Southey did not have to move an inch. There would have been some nerves underneath it, I'm sure. But it's Quinton de Kock who goes. Trent Boult has another. He's out for 14, 51 for 2.
The combination of Rousseau and du Plessis, obviously really experienced players. Power of Rousseau. Du Plessis, you know that he's a sleeping giant. He sort of just pushes the ball around, and then he can pounce on that run rate at any stage.
He's edged this one, and it's going to beat third man, is it? Oh, that's a great shot. Riley Rousseau just elegantly launching this through mid-on.
That's a good shot. He does take the risk and it comes off. Great execution from du Plessis.
They built up a really good momentum and built up a fantastic foundation for South Africa, and we couldn't get those wickets that we had got in the tournament so far. So it was probably a moment for South Africa where they thought we could, really push this run rate on, and they'd set an amazing foundation.
He hit it back past Tim Southey. And after 21 overs, it's 85 for 2.
Rousseau goes down the ground.
Riley Rossouw and Faf du Plessis had taken South Africa from a stumbling start to 114 for 2.
In the air, taken, what a catch! He is brilliant, Martin Guptill. Anderson strikes, he has a knack of doing it.
Yeah, long arms, Guptill, he used them to good effect with the bat the other day, those long levers powering the ball. This time he sticks out a long right arm and just plucks the ball out of the air. He timed it perfectly. Just a half shot, really, almost like a chop down, and then Guptill timed that leap brilliantly. Just got it in his fingertips, so a good time to take a wicket. There's no bad time, but in the middle of an innings, just as a partnership is going, an especially good time. 114 for 3 now, South Africa, and Rousseau gone for 39.
Well, that's one of those moments as a player where you think, should we have got that wicket? Rousseau falls, and in walks AB de Villiers, Mr. 360. It's a worrying moment as a player, because you look at someone like AB de Villiers and you know how destructive he can be. He was destructive in that tournament, and he can just put the foot down and change the game in a matter of balls. So a moment that was a little bit worrying for New Zealand, and we had to try and mitigate as much damage as possible.
And hit strong, and mid-off won't get it.
He's short boundary straight down the ground.
That is another beautiful shot. A.B. de Villiers, he was backing across and he just punched it straight back past the bowler.
Yeah, this is class.
We had a team where we had a lot of success. We were probably in a position now where it was looking at not so much wickets, but how are we going to control this game from this moment in, with South Africa having wickets in hand.
It's another short one, it's in the same spot and it's the same result, so Anderson being expensive.
There was this AB factor with the bat that South Africa used really well. He would often come in around overs 35 and up, and he'd make a massive difference at the end of a South African innings. And he's one of the reasons why South Africa reached 400 so many times in leading up to the World Cup for one, but also during that World Cup as well.
Oh, in the gap, beautifully done. Don't worry about third man. It's only about 40 metres that boundary. He is 184 for 3.
Yeah, he's got lots of power, but he possesses lots of finesse too.
And that was when A.B. de Villiers, he just goes bang, 36th over, 6-4-4 against Corey Anderson.
Oh, A.B. de Villiers goes downtown. He's charging. Is it all the way? Yep. Maxman. De Villiers got the gap again. It's more skill through the offside this time. This is dangerous for New Zealand. Again, down the town, yeah, down the ground here. We're just toying with Anderson now. Wherever he wants to hit the ball, he's got it.
It's almost like he's reading the game before the ball's been bowled. And long may it continue, Warnie.
And then the rain comes down.
It's just got a little bit heavier. Let's hope this goes away quite quickly.
Honestly, that rain, I don't know who was doing the rain dance or the prayers at that moment, but when you've got A.B. de Villiers in, I think that's a godsend. The rain came down, and maybe not a lot of people remember that, but that moment there was probably a real catalyst to us going into our innings, probably having a little bit of time to think about it, and making sure that South Africa didn't get, I mean, who knows what they could have got in those last couple of overs with A.B. de Villiers at the crease, who was in amazing form.
When the rain finally stopped in Auckland, play resumed with South Africa having a reduced 43 overs to complete their batting.
Well, New Zealand are going to ask for a deflection here. Umpire has given a wide, Ian Gould. Now, I'm not quite sure whether Luke Ronke is interested in this. Did he think it brushed something?
Don't lie, Dan.
They've still got a review up their sleeve and not many overs to use it.
Sorry to have a review. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go back on field. The ball has touched the glove. I'd like you to reverse your decision to out. You're on camera.
Faf du Plessis is going to make his way off Eden Park. He never got the chance to restart. It was a brilliant knock, stage one, but unable to carry on. So he leaves for 82 off 107. Terrific effort that. But South Africa lose their fourth at 217.
You can't always play for the weather, but it just did play out that way, and the weather made a big difference to South Africa's batting.
South Africa had only a few overs remaining to brush off their rain breaks rust and accelerate their scoring. Cue David Miller.
That'll be 4 more. Southie going for width. Again, over the top of mid-off. McCullum desperate to get across. Couldn't manage it. McCullum get across. No, he can't. It goes under the captain. The 4th boundary in the over. Straight down the ground for 4. That's muscle. Out and out muscle. In fact, has it carried the whole way? Maybe. It has. You can add 6 to that, and that's a mighty big 6. top deck, top draw. Don't have to worry about that. That's gone miles back.
Once again in the hitting zone for David Miller. That brings up the 50 partnership between these two of just 24 deliveries. Takes David Miller to 49 of 17 deliveries. If he gets another single of this next delivery, they will equal fastest 50 in World Cup history.
Little touch there and he's gone. So the danger man in the second vital period of play disappears, but he gets a handshake from his captain because this has been invaluable hitting from David Miller.
Moving down the leg side, it's going away from him and a big outside edge. As Ian Smith very rightly said, an invaluable innings. Just missed for 49. South Africa lose their 5th wicket with just 4 balls to spare.
Could be out. Oh, it's down, put down. Nathan McCullum, good pair of hands normally. This time the jump.
Never easy as a batsman when you first come to the crease just to have to play shots from the outset.
Last ball, de Villiers will be out of his blocks. They'll look for 2. The throw's got to go to the keeper's end to get Duminy. Skid throw and Duminy gets back. South Africa finish with a brace. And they finish after 43 overs with 281 for 5. A terrific effort, especially after the break. Came out fighting.
And then in the middle of the innings was A.B. de Villiers who came to the party and scored at a rapid rate and a good partnership of over 100 with Faf du Plessis. And the big hitting, well, it was restricted. It was only down to 43 overs, so they missed out 7 overs at the back end where they might have been a bit more destructive.
South Africa's rain-hampered innings closed on 281 for 5, which after a shaky start was a hard-hitting score and a decent target for New Zealand to chase. Faf du Plessis high-scored for the visitors, but A.B. de Villiers and David Miller's quick-fire scoring proved vital at accelerating the scoring rate in their reduced over efforts. Corey Anderson took 3 wickets at an expensive 12 runs and over, and Trent Boult impressed with 2 for 53 of his 9 overs.
The rain. A lot of people don't remember the rain. It gave us a little bit of time to probably gather ourselves, pull together as a team, spend a bit of time in the change rooms and think about the innings that we were about to undertake.
In a rain-delayed first innings, the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern method set New Zealand 298 to win a home semi-final, to become the first Black Cap side ever to progress to a Men's World Cup final.
298 was the target, and it didn't really feel like enough, even though it was just all 43 overs. It didn't feel like it was going to be enough, unless South Africa were able to bowl well and of course get some key wickets.
It's obviously a huge total. But at Eden Park, and I think having that local knowledge of the ground and talking about that run rate and what you can get that run rate up to. Obviously you don't want it to go above 10s, but looking at 7s, and we've got Brendan McCullum and Martin Guptill, who's fresh off a double 100 against the West Indies, batting up top in local conditions.
Out came New Zealand to bat, 298 their target in 43 overs, led by their talismanic captain, Brendan McCullum, and Martin Guptill, fresh from a World Cup record score in his last innings.
Oh dear, in the air. Great start, a little bit of shape. Guptill's heart in his mouth, and Graham Smith out of his seat after 1 ball. Oh, extra cover, half a dozen. Thank you very much, says Brendan McCullum. Got some length and pounced on it. Swung away for 6 more. Stayed in his crease this time, McCullum. Gets it fine enough, and that'll be 4 more. 18 runs from the Philander over, 26 without loss.
The Eden Park wicket's a great wicket. It's normally quick, it's bouncy, it's true. As long as there's not too much swing there, it can be a batter's paradise. And I think using the pace of the ball, and especially with the dimensions, using the short straight and just behind you, if you can use the pace of the ball, I think you can be really successful. But it's definitely a field where I felt from domestic experience playing there, is that you could let the run rate get around that 10 runs per over mark. And if it got to that 10 runs per over mark, it was still comfortable in that you needed that 1 boundary and over. So I think there was that air of confidence amongst us that anything that South Africa posted, we were obviously going to have a go at. And we had a team where, Brendan McCullum was in great form. Kane Williamson was batting well. Ross Taylor had scored runs. It seemed like whenever we needed someone to achieve something amazing, someone stepped up to the plate.
Oh dear, that is enormous. You think there was one big one today, earlier? That's about 20 metres further.
South Africa weren't able to negate the Brendan McCullum factor. He was brilliant to start things off, and he took a lot of the wind out of the South African sails.
Flat, hard, 4 more. Oh, that's over the top. My word. There is no catching that unless you've got an orange shirt on. And 50 for Brendan McCullum in 22 deliveries.
Brendan McCullum, aggressive, taking the bowlers on. This was his moment.
Out, should be taken and will be taken. Dale Steyn takes the catch.
Game on, Dooley.
Absolutely.
Get hold of it. Dale Steyn, he'll be relieved with that. He wasn't going to let that go. And you can see the relief in his face.
And McCullum succumbed. I know he didn't face it, but he's gone for 59 now. 71 for 1.
59 of 26 balls, but, to get to 71 or 5 overs, that really does put the opposition on the back foot and puts a massive dent in that huge total.
That's a great shot. Wasn't that bad a ball? Oh, he dragged it down. Oh, that's a bad blow for New Zealand. Morkel does it again. He struck twice.
Huge wicket for South Africa. Kane Williams is often the backbone of the New Zealand batting. He gets himself in, intends to harbour the strike and play superbly. This time he goes for that pull shot again. The bottom edge, drags it onto the stumps. And Morne Morkel is working the trick here for South Africa. His second wicket of the evening, an important one. Williamson has to go. He's got to go for 6 from 11 deliveries. New Zealand now 81 for 2.
After the losses of Captain McCullum and the invaluable talent of Kane Williamson, Martin Guptill and Ross Taylor steadied the New Zealand ship.
Taylor gets it. That's what he wants. Width to get going, and he's starting to feel it.
There we go. It's in the air. It's going to go all the way for 6. Yep, it's a big one.
Short again, and Taylor pulls in front of square and pulls well. Who is that out there? Is that Miller?
Bad luck for Miller.
We were such a calm team that we really did believe that whenever someone failed, someone would step up.
Oh, gone! Guptill gone. There was hesitation there. Ross Taylor is distraught at the non-striker's end. He can't believe what's just happened. This is a huge moment in the game.
In 2011 in Dhaka, it was a run out that put South Africa on the back foot. Is it the same here at Eden Park in 2015?
We never really looked at individuals and the wickets that were lost during the innings, but it was more as a collective. We really did have that belief.
Out came Grant Elliott, the 35-year-old South African-born batter, looking to keep New Zealand's World Cup hopes on track.
Got a long way across there. It's almost premeditated.
Appeal is gone. South Africa needed wickets. It was a caught behind down the leg side. I thought there might have been a bit of pad in it, but Duminy once again has done it.
How big that wicket is. A soft dismissal, going down the leg side, trying to flick it Ross Taylor. And the wickets we were talking about, the fifth bowler we were talking about. Too many strikes once again. Big Nick and a very good catch by Quinton de Kock. You see the jubilation on his face. He knows how important that wicket is. Ross Taylor goes for 30, 149 for 4.
Yeah, Ross Taylor, obviously another one with huge experience in the team. Ross Taylor gets out and suddenly got Corey Anderson, which that's not a bad thing. You have a right-hand, left-hand combination now, so you have to stay positive, but we're still quite a way out. We've got a long way to go. I think from this moment on, South Africa are in the box seat. They're in the box seat because we need to keep wickets in hand. It's about keeping wickets in hand and probably going at that almost 7-8 and over.
That swung back nicely, and it's well played from Anderson. Full face of the bat. That'll relieve the pressure. That'll be 4. One man to beat, he does it easily.
Hard sweep, another boundary. Second of the over.
Into the deep, that's 6, way back. That's what they need, New Zealand. It's full, it's through. It's a half volley.
Full toss, and he puts him straight back into the south stand.
It's a free hit for Anderson. On the ground, 196 for 4 is the score.
Rides it down, and it's beaten Morne Morkel. Morkel can't stop it. Smashed for 4. Oh, he's hit that hard. Now then, there's no one out there, and that has just been helped on its way for 6.
Yeah, what a magnificent innings from Corey. Corey brings power, but he's also got the game where he can push the ball around. And my role was to just try and get us as close to the finish mark as possible before launching. So it was great to have someone at the crease that was actually taking on the bowlers and being a little bit more aggressive, which meant that I could just carry on doing what I was doing. And Corey, batting with him, that he possesses that power. He possesses that, ability to change a game in a few overs.
Anderson down the ground. You'll just get 1, but it does give him 50. Outstanding. Young man, under pressure, coming up trumps.
Yep, well played, Corey Anderson.
Beautiful shot. Lovely piece of timing over the top for Grant Elliott, and he has 50 as well. Superb. Cool head.
I think the game was still in the balance, and obviously when you're out there, and I was feeling quite good, I was feeling comfortable, but we had a lot of batters that possessed power as well, and the ability to get us over the line.
Oh, straight up, who's underneath it? Oh, he's taken it, he's got it, yeah he has. Faf du Plessis, he held his nerve. And Anderson's fight, this brilliant fight, has come to an end.
Fine catch under pressure.
The pressure, the spider cam, dark nature and Eden Park. He pulled off a fantastic catch.
I think on the night, Morne Morkel was the pick of the bowlers. And once again, getting a breakthrough, getting Anderson, that was a huge moment. And I think that was one of those moments where still confident, obviously, when you're out there. Luke Ronke was to come. Not panic stations yet, but big wicket for South Africa, and they knew it.
New Zealand were 252 for 5 in their pursuit of a place in the World Cup final. With Grant Elliott and Luke Ronke at the crease, to chase their target of 298.
It was the time of the game where you look at that run rate and you go, well, if we can get one more boundary or just one boundary and over and then just throw the singles around it, the opportunity to get the boundary at the start of the over is probably what you wanted to target. So starting to target the first, second ball and then assessing where you were in the over, because it wasn't just about runs, but it was also about wickets. It was about getting us to that last over and having an opportunity to win the game.
That's gone. That's gone. Way back. Wow. Oh, Grant Elliott.
Well, 36 divided by 4 gives you 9. So we're edging closer to that 10 runs and over. Not quite 10. So still that one boundary and over. But I think you could sense now at this stage, Eden Park was getting quiet. It was quiet during the Australian game as well, when we were 9 wickets down in the pool game, and you could sense that there was this real pensive energy amongst the fans and people there, the 40,000. And it's always quite a little bit awry when you have 40,000 in a stadium and it's quiet. As a player, it can be a little bit disconcerting.
Tie? Did someone say tie? That'll run away. That could run for 4. That will run for 4. Nice piece of timing.
To be fair now, the game was getting frantic from both sides. I think the game was in the balance. It was anyone's game. The crowd could feel it. The South African players could feel it. And there was going to be mistakes. There was going to be mistakes from both sides.
Oh, that could be out. Should be out. That's out. Steyn gets the breakthrough. And Ronke is gone. Could have hit it anywhere.
South Africa fighting hard. Big wicket, Ronke goes. South Africa fighting still. 269 for 6, Ronke gone for 8.
Last 17 balls were pretty much a blur. Steyn gets Ronke. In comes Vettori. So now we've got one of our most experienced New Zealand players, and if there was ever a time for someone with experience to come to the crease, it was now. We needed someone like Vettori, his calm head. He'd been in every moment in international cricket, but even this moment for him was a moment he probably hadn't anticipated. Bat in hand, semi-final at Eden Park, but no better man to be batting with me.
You've got to think the game rides on this delivery. Grant Elliott v. Morne Morkel, the in batter, needs to make the play, needs to look for the boundary to get New Zealand some momentum.
Need a wicket, South Africa. New Zealand, another boundary would help. Oh, it's gone up. Now, someone's got to get to this, surely. Someone's got to get to it. Oh! They've knocked it off! No, New Zealand don't want to run. It's calamity out there. They missed a run, New Zealand, looking at what was going on. Morkel's finished. Panic in the outfield. Oh my goodness, how much more do we need here? 286 for 6-1 to go.
South Africa missed a great chance to actually win that game before the final over started. Elliott was facing Morne Morkel, top-edged hook, and Berhardine and Dumini, I think, converged on it. You thought one of them has got to take that catch, and they kind of left it to each other, neither quite committed properly. He got 2 runs. He should have been out caught. New Zealand should have begun the final over needing 14 without Grant Elliott at the crease. As it was, he got 2 runs. They started the final over needing 12.
There was drop catches. There was mishits. Everything was happening. There was no panic stations, but I think that there were a few opportunities that South Africa did miss.
Dale Steyn, Daniel Vettori and Grant Elliott.
It was looking like it was coming down to Grant Elliott, who was a Johannesburg-born player who hadn't, before this World Cup, hadn't played an ODI for nearly 6 years. He was a late replacement for Jimmy Neesham. People had questioned his place in this New Zealand team. Now he's up against Dale Steyn, one of the great fast bowlers of all time. New Zealand need 12 off the last over in front of their home crowd. This is a big moment for them. Can they get to the World Cup final?
I always think 12 off the last over is anyone's game. The game is, it's 50-50. You get that one boundary, suddenly it starts getting a little bit closer in the batter's favour.
There we go, Dale Steyn, 6 deliveries, Daniel Vettori on strike. He plays and misses, Elliott runs the bye, beautifully done. The main man is on strike. 11 from 5, 10 for the tie. Elliott hits, has he hit a gap? No, he hasn't hit a gap. Wonderfully cut off again, South Africa inside the circle and making it so hard.
Felt like I missed a full toss early on in the over, and I felt that that was the opportunity for the boundary. Cometh the hour, cometh the man, Dan Vettori.
Oh, he's hit a gap. He's hit a 4. Daniel Vettori has passed the finest of gaps. And New Zealand may have their nose in front again. 6 from 3, 5 to tie.
Managed to just squeeze one past Morné Morkel, the outstretched, ginormous Morkel at third man, and that got us that boundary.
Oh, playing a miss. Elliott runs through. They're going to have to run him out. They miss. A valuable run, and Elliott is back on strike.
We were edging closer and closer to the finish line, and then to be there with 5 needed of just the last 2 balls, there were a lot of emotions. I was always taught with cricket and with batting is that you can't have emotions. You shouldn't have emotions because that can blur that vision and it's not as crisp as it should be. So to try and not be emotional at this stage and let those feelings, I guess, override what you are about to undertake. 5 runs off 2 balls. I knew that if we got a boundary, as in a 4, that we would tie the game, and that meant that we would go through because we were top of the pool. So all I had to do was try and hit a boundary, and if I didn't, then I could leave it up to Tim Southee. He could come in and do it himself. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. I wanted to be the person there. I wanted to be the person at the end with my hands in the air, celebrating a victory. Something that did cross my mind was the fact that I felt that this was a moment where I would regret if I didn't get the team over the line. Then it erupted. Eden Park, because it's so high, the stadium, the elevation of it, it almost feels like someone's shouting just above you, just 45 degrees above you. And amazing to be out there, to be an All Black and play there in all games must be a great feeling.
New Zealand had done it. An ice-cold 6 from Grant Elliott guided the Black Caps to their first ever ICC Men's World Cup final. Important knocks from Brendan McCullum and Corey Anderson bolstered the host's score. And whilst Morné Morkel took an excellent free for 59, it was no doubt that the player of the match was Grant Elliott with his high score of 84.
Utter despair for South Africa, who have played a full part in what has been a magnificent game of cricket. New Zealand and Grant Elliott. Grant Elliott takes them home.
He took them home all right.
Grant Elliott was absolutely brilliant. His 84 undefeated was no doubt a standout. To do it under pressure against a good South African attack was superb. I think the home crowd helps a lot, obviously. Playing in front of the home crowd from New Zealand's point of view was huge. But South Africa, again, will look back on that semi-final and know that moments definitely made a big difference in that game.
I think what made the semi-final so special is obviously the result. First ever time for us to get into the World Cup final. But it was our home soil. It was at Eden Park. It was capacity crowd. it was edge of the seat stuff. It was a box office game. And the fact that it was on our home soil, I think, just made it special for everyone that was there live. And there's a lot of people in New Zealand that tuned in for that moment.